Mia cucina in Italian means my kitchen, and today is all about chili. Yes, but I am going to do an ostrich chili, ostrich and vegetable chili, and this is my recipe. I do not use a chili, one of these guys, but for those moms that don't want to go through all this process, this is what I would suggest, is to get 1 or 2 mild chili bags, but I do not. I'm going to show you how to make this from scratch, and I'm going to walk you step by step. So the prima cosa che dobbiamo fare, the first thing that I need to do is to prendere il fadale, and I'm going to put my pot here at medium high. And I have a beautiful fadale called Elena's Cucina, of course. Welcome to Mia Cucina, my kitchen. And I have lost weight, and so I can go all the way around now. It's amazing. I lose, I gain. So what I'm going to start with is I have a pound of ground ostrich. If you don't have ostrich, you can do wild boar, you can do venison, buffalo. And I also have here a half a pound of some ground beef. And this is all grass-fed, all wild caught. So what I want to do first is, because ostrich does not have a lot of fat, that's why I'm implementing a half a cup of ground grass-fed beef. And actually the ostrich was a wild caught ostrich. And what I have here is I have an entire clove of garlic and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I put the garlic into the olive oil, and then to this I am going to grab a pinch of salt. Because what happens is, and I learned this from chefs, when you put the salt on top of the garlic, it just amplifies the flavor of the garlic. Trust me, it's not going to have a lot of garlic flavor. So I'm just going to add all of this in here to my nice hot pot. And what I want to start doing with this is I am going to start rendering this beautiful thing. I'm also have here an entire red onion that I have chopped. That's going to go right in here. Also, I have a half of a pepper. My peppers are organic. They were very large, so I cut them in half. If you have a small red pepper, that's what I have here. And a green pepper, and I have also diced. That's going to all go in here like so. Just like that. Very simple transaction. Everybody can follow. So remember, 1 entire red onion, 1 entire clove of garlic, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, the red onion. Then here I have an entire jalapeno. I'm growing my own jalapeno. I do have some spice. I want this to be nice and spicy, not super spicy, but also very delicious. All right, so what I want to do is I want to kind of start sauteing this, and it's going to start making its brown bits, because that's what I want. I want my brown bits to start doing its thing, because I am going to be showing you what else we're going to be doing to this. So right now, I am just trying to get everybody, you know, coated very well with that olive oil and the garlic. It is smelling wonderful in here. All right, so now what I want to do next is I want this to render. I have taken 3 green onions, including the whites, and that's what I have here. I have some mushrooms that I have chopped up that I'm also going to implement in here, because I want this right here with them, because mushrooms has its own water and it's going to start rendering its own water. So I want this, and what I want is I want to get these rocking and rolling. And I haven't added the meat yet, as you can tell. I have, again, 1 pound of ostrich and a half a pound of ground beef that I'm going to put to the side. What I have done is I have chopped some wonderful, I just love cumin. So cumin starts out in powder form, but I have cilantro, and I have a 1/4 cup of cilantro that I'm not going to add it yet. I have 2 tablespoons of wonderful oregano, and this is Spanish oregano that I put it in my fingers and I just run it like that. And now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and add my oregano to this mixture, so that oregano is in there. Again, this is my homemade from scratch chili, and that's what I have right here. And then I am going to bring you now to my spices, and I'm going to go really slow on this. I have a tablespoon of cumin powder, 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of chipotle powder, a half a tablespoon of smoked paprika, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 tablespoon of masa, and masa is, this is what masa I'm using, and that is to thicken it if it needs to. I also have corn blue chip tortilla chips. That's also going to go in here to flavor this, and I'll show you how I'm going to do this. I have 1 can of sweet corn with the water. I have here, let me move this out of the way. I have here 1 can of black beans, 1 can of chili white beans, 1 can of red kidney beans, another can of chili beans, and I also have a butternut beans. I love butter beans. And what I've done is I have allowed 2 of the cans, which it's the cans of the white chili, the 2 white chili bean cans. I have their juice here, and that's what I have here. And I'm also going to be utilizing this can as well, and that's what I have here. And I am going to add all of my wonderful spices into, not the meat, but into all of the beans, because this is what's going to give such an incredible flavor. And I'm also going to add to this the wonderful cilantro that I've chopped. I'm done with that. I am looking at this. This is starting to look wonderful. It's breaking down, and now I am going to add my meat. And then I'm just going to start breaking it down. Remember, ostrich meat is very lean meat. It does not have a lot of fat. That's why I have grass-fed ground beef in here. That's going to start rendering its fat. Now I'm going to raise it up to a high, because I want this to be a high. Okay, now I'm going to start chopping up. You know, get one of these petals like that, guys, and just kind of start doing this thing, okay? Chopping it all up. All right. And this is how I do my chili, guys. When I do this chili, that's what I do. All right, so now I'm going to let that do its thing. Now to this concussion here, remember, I used a tablespoon of cumin, a tablespoon of granulated garlic powder, a teaspoon of chipotle, a half a teaspoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm gonna add my green beans, green onions. I know you guys are not used to making it like this, but trust me, this is going to be delicious. Oh yes. I'm gonna mix this guys all in here. Make sure you get a big enough pot for this stuff to fit in there. It smells delicious. So now we have this with all of these wonderful spices. If you don't have those, if you don't want to go through all of that, you can always get one of these things if you want to. I don't use them, but I bought it for the show to show you. All right, so now that I have this, and the masa will go at the end, I'm going to put these to the side. And I have a beautiful tomato here that I'm going to bring your attention to. I am going to keep it down like that, and I'm going to cut it in half. I'm just going to take that little bit, you know, the little thing right here. I'm just going to take that little tiny little thing out. And be careful, I am using this particular knife. It is for vegetables, and especially I am going, the toppings that I'm going to be using for this, and you can use whatever topping. I am going to be using some fresh grated cheese that I'm going to use sharp cheddar cheese. I'm also going to cut up a wonderful avocado. I'm also going to have some, I'm going to be using, you know, my husband loves rice, so we're going to be doing it with rice as well. So now, my chili, my meat is starting to render its flavors with the rest of everybody in here, and it's cooking down. That's exactly what I wanted it to do, cook it down. Now that it's brown, I am going to slowly add my chilies. My beans, not my chilies. And I tell you, this what makes a beautiful big pot. Okay, guys? And I want to get every bit of this because this is delicious stuff. Let me get a bigger one over here. I know I have a bigger one. Because I want to get all of this. Okay, see what I'm doing, guys? Can you see what I'm doing? We're getting it all in there. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce it. And I'm going to cook it for a good hour. So everybody marries each other. The meat finished cooking with itself. Now I'm going to add the can of corn in there. You know, when I was in my younger years, I won a contest, and I went to Nevada. And in Nevada, they were having a chili competition. And they were also having a Mrs. Chili competition that you could, take part of it. And I went and I met with all of the vendors there that were making their chili. And I learned so much about Southwestern chili, from all different areas, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to all these places. And I also got into the contest of Miss, because at that time I was divorced, and my daughter was with me, and I did that, and I won. I got second place. I won a whole entire year of Dawn detergent, and for a single mom, that was really amazing. And everything was paid for, my hotel, my trip. And I also won $1,000, which it really helped me a lot. So now I'm going to add my tomatoes. And what I'm doing here, guys, is I am slicing my tomatoes like so. I turn in this way, and I am going to dice my tomatoes like that. So this chili came about from that trip. Never thought in a million years, many years later. I'm in my early 30s in those days. I was, much younger with a much thinner body. So I learned a lot from all of these wonderful cooks and chefs. on how they would sit there and they would chop up brisket. They have briskets and they would chop it up in tiny little pieces. And that's what they would use, the brisket. I always thought that you just take a package, you know, ground beef, you put it in there, you put the little packet like this, you know, when I was in my younger years. And I never knew anything about making chili and doing it this way. So now my chili, I'm mixing very slowly. As you can see, this is pretty packed here. So make sure you get a very nice big pot. And chili freezes well. But my husband and I love this so much that we will eat this in 3 days. You know, we'll have it for lunch and dinner. And also, if we don't want to eat it, then we can freeze it. So now, this guy has to come to a boil. But since my meat is almost done, I want to taste. I want to taste. Okay. And what I'm tasting is that it needs salt. So now I am going to take a nice handful like this, measure, I'm going to taste it as I go. I don't like things to be super salty. Ever since I recovered from COVID, I'm very sensitive to salt. And salt, it just, you know, there's a lot of salt, and salt, you know, can cause a lot of problems in a lot of people. So I am going to taste it again on the other side of the spoon here. It needs another handful. So don't put all the salt in there. You know, salt it as you go. Salt it as you go. So now let me try that again. Oh yes, baby. Ooh la la sassoon. Do you guys remember that? Ooh la la sassoon? That was an old commercial. So now the tomatoes are going to have its own, you know, render their own juices and everything. And now I'm going to taste again. Let me grab another spoon. I want to make sure. What's happening now is all of the, you know, the cumin with the garlic and the chipotle pepper and the smoked paprika and the chili and the turmeric and black pepper, they're all marrying each other. And that jalapeno of mine that I just cut up, oh my God, that little jalapeno dude, he is like, woohoo! Now, these are the vegetables, but I want to bring your attention to some other vegetables that I'm going to add. This is what I just got out of my garden. I grow all of this. I have 2 different kinds of kales here that I am going to be utilizing, and I'm going to make a salad with this later. Is that I have elephant kale, and my husband started growing this, and I can't remember the name, but it's a kale, and I'm just going to take it out of the stuff like that, you know, the stems. And I'm just going to take it out. Let me put this in here. Let me cover this up because this is starting to come to a boil. And my salt, it's perfect. And remember, I'm still also going to be serving this over rice. So now I want to bring some kale. And a lot of people, you know, they talk about that kale has got certain things to it. But I grow my own kale. It's in my own organic soil, and that's what I grow. And I feel that my kale that I grow, it's safe. And then when I cannot grow kale and I go to the health food stores, I find out where my kale comes from. So what I want to do is I want to do a quick chop. Be careful because this knife is not really designed for that. And I want to add some of this kale. I got my mushrooms in there, you know, I got my vegetable, and after all, this is a chili and vegetable healthy and yumminess that I'm utilizing. And now I want to add my kale. And let's see how many cups. It's however much you want. As you can see, I have a nice handful. And I use my kale for smoothies. And then when I have a lot of kale, I take the leaves out. I chop them. I put them in a freezer bag and I use that for smoothies. Yes. So now I'm just going to mix this together. Oh yes, baby, baby. Nothing is sticking in the bottom. It's looking beautiful. Make sure that if you have a pan that is a non-stick pan, and now this one does stick, but I got everybody nice going. And now you guys, I'm going to bring you over here so you can, I cannot wait till I eat this. I cannot wait till I eat this chili. So what I want to do now is I am going to take the bag and I'm going to take a handful, how many chips? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I am going to cut these guys. You see what I'm doing? I'm crushing them and I'm putting them in here. This is also going to get your soup a little thicker, but it's going to give such an amazing flavor. It is such an amazing flavor. And what I am using is blue corn tortillas, organic, certified organic. Always make sure you look for the certified organics. All right, so let me grab all of this stuff out of the way so I can start bringing you over here so you guys can see the finished result. And then what I'm going to do with my masa is, depending on how juicy it is, if it's too juicy and I want it more thicker, then I will add my masa to this. And look at this beautiful meat. Oh, I just had a taste. It is delicious. It is so tasty. What a wonderful flavor. All right, let me bring you guys so I can show you. Ready to go for a ride? All right. And what you're looking at is you're looking at this. You see that, guys? Isn't that beautiful? You see that? Okay, let me bring you down now. And pretty much, that is my secret that I just shared with you. My chili and vegetable, wonderful ostrich chili. You know what? I'm not quite sure what I'm going to call it. I may call it ostrich and vegetable chili. And there you go, guys. This beautifulness that it's doing their thing, all for your health. I want to thank my beautiful sponsors. Thank you so much for joining me today. Blessings to every single one of you. And may this chili will always bless your life. Namaste, my brothers and my sisters. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. La, 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 yay!